Good evening. Welcome to Good Guys Sports on a Thursday evening on the eve of the NBA Finals. On today's on tonight we will discuss we will discuss the predictions and the series and who will win game one of this game. We will also discuss the Stanley Cup finals between the Edmonton Oilers and the Florida Panthers for their game one on Saturday. We will also talk about that. We'll talk a little baseball, and then we'll also talk a little bit of other stuff after that. But first, I want to try to get us started with a few topics for today. The first one is the Lakers are preparing massive offers to UConn's Dan Hurley, which nobody even predicted and saw that coming until it happened. Broken by Wojnarowski from ESPN that the Lakers and have primarily pursued Dan Hurley, who wanted to be who as a fan base for the city or for the Birmingham Gold and for their team and for a big market franchise and for their fan base and for their fans maybe, but I doubt it. But you guys might have different opinions on that. That they really should be that he should really team up with LeBron James with LeBron and rumors of Bronny James to be with the team, which I doubt that's going to happen. But Dan Hurley to the Lakers, yeah, I didn't think it was going to be a big deal and thought it was going to happen, but it did. But originally, they thought that JJ Redick, the current ESPN color commentator, was going after for this job. It turns out that he wasn't. It turned out that it was Dan Hurley that offered the job first before JJ did. So that's just what really came down to at first. So yeah, JJ Redick and then Dan Hurley, JJ Redick, formerly, as we all know, Blake, as a Duke guy, as a Duke player, as we all know, played for Coach K
Yeah.
during his time there, and then and then and then he played a lot. He did have a great playing career in the NBA. We'll be calling the game tonight for the NBA Finals for tonight's game, but about
Yeah, no, I think it's
Brenham.
I'm with you because I was a bit surprised as well seeing the news that came out this morning about Hurley being offered the job, because that was similar to you. It seemed like a lot of the speculation was that Reddick was pretty clear front runner, which in of itself was a bit surprising given the fact that he's still, I think he's not even 40 years old yet, and he's obviously recently retired, never been a coach before and at any level. So I think the speculation around Reddick seemed to be he was, good friends with LeBron. They do a podcast together. I think JJ Reddick is a big podcaster. Maybe he listens to Good Guy Sports. He's in the podcast world, but going from podcast to the coach of the Lakers is a big jump for sure. But obviously he knows the X's and O's of basketball quite well. But yeah, interesting. You don't see too many of these huge NBA coaching jobs going to college coaches. That was maybe something more common, 20 years ago, where college basketball was a bit more similar to the NBA style. But nowadays, you don't see too many coaches making that jump from college to NBA. But you can understand Dan Hurley being a back-to-back NCAA champion, why his name is coming up on a few coaching vacancies. So I think this is one of the very few jobs that Hurley would leave UConn for, because if you think about it, in a really good situation. He's got a great team, coming off of 2 straight championships. He's the king of the program there in UConn, but it'd have to be a really good offer to get him to leave, and it seems like Lakers are making that happen with a massive commitment to Coach Hurley. So yeah, it's an interesting offer for sure, and it looks like he's probably going to end up being a coach there. So you'd have to imagine LeBron probably gave that the okay as well. So yeah, interesting to see how he does out there in LA.
Blake Lumberger, let me bring you in. Do you think, first of all, a few questions. Lumberger, does JJ Redick have a better podcast than we do? And,
No,
No way.
no,
really,
Not
and,
even
and,
not
and
even
not even
close.
close.
really, and number two, do you think the Lakers made a better hire over Redick, over yet over Redick, versus Dan Hurley being LeBron's next teammate duo, best free duo in the league together?
I'll tell you what, Jack. I think it's interesting. Blake, what's the guarantee on the contract? How many years?
I don't think the specifics have been said yet, but it has been reported that it's a long term
Well,
contract. Yeah.
and that's because LeBron is in control of the teams he's on and gets coaches fired. So I guarantee you Hurley would not leave knowing that unless he had a long term. But LeBron's only around for another 2 years, 2 or 3 years maybe. So he probably wanted his contract to run longer than LeBron was there, so LeBron couldn't get him fired. Because I mean, truth be told, at UConn, he's probably got a lifetime deal if he wants one. But after watching the Nick Saban interview about why he left college coaching and said a lot of it, and his wife, it was a question about his wife asking him, a lot of it was the name and likeness and how players don't, it's just all about money now. So that could have affected her a little bit as well. And so why not just, jump to the NBA? But I don't know. That's an interesting move. Yeah, wow. I don't know. What do you guys think? What do you think, Jack?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, there's people out there saying that that's not a great hire or slam dunk or anything like that. But to me, I think it. To me, but to me, I think that it's a great hire for the Lakers and for the team and for the city and for the town itself, because the fans should be very hyped. That the team should get very excited. Other than the Dodgers just winning only one World Series during its time for during its time in the city itself. Only won it like there's time like in the 80s and more recently in 2020, but on a sports perspective, it's always been a Laker town. The stars show up, purple and gold, a dynasty. You think of the Dallas Cowboys, the Yankees of the world, possibly the Patriots,
Redskins.
oh yeah, oh yeah, and then the Dodgers. The list, among other sports. I mean, UCLA,
Jackson,
USC,
Jackson, let me ask you this. Who's
yeah.
older? Who's older, LeBron or Hurley?
Now Hurley is older, but it's not as big of a gap as you would have thought. Yeah.
I think, oh, I don't know. I think Dan might have the edge over LeBron, but I could be wrong.
Yeah,
Well,
no,
LeBron's 39.
Okay, yeah, no, I think let's see. I think Dan Hurley has been around for longer than you think. I mean, he's about a decade older, so yeah, it's really not a huge.
That's more than I thought. Okay.
Yeah. But no, actually, I think it's going back to Blake's point about, kind of the college sports dynamic nowadays. I think it's a good point because I do think that is a contributing factor to why some of the top level coaches would consider going to professional sports, given kind of the upheaval with NIL and some of the recent court rulings as well about paying players, and it's just become a bit overwhelming where the coach has to kind of become a coach and a GM. And I think they're making this point this morning on ESPN about how maybe Hurley just wants to kind of focus on being the coach and not have to everything that surrounds college sports with recruiting and stuff like that. So if he goes to a situation like the Lakers, he can just focus on basketball and let the GM and the ownership handle everything else. Now, granted, it's not like the Lakers are not exactly like a quiet team where you can just put your head down. There's always going to be a lot of media attention, etc. But maybe that appeals to him as opposed to what's going on in college sports right now.
With the transfer portal, as well as guys leaving for the NBA draft, I mean, college coach has got to basically rebuild the team every year, or at least every 2 years at the most. And so they don't have a time to really coach up a team like John Wooten did back in the day with UCLA, where players would play, all 4 years. So it's a total different dynamic.
Yeah, and they made.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say they also made the point. I was watching the ESPN with Woj and this morning, and I think they made a good point as well, actually, because we talk about Duke basketball a lot on this program, obviously, and they made the point about how around 20 years ago, Coach K was offered the Lakers job around 2004-ish or whatever, and he decided to stay at Duke because he felt like he could build out that program and have continued success, and he did, obviously, so it was the right decision. So they were saying that the way that college sports dynamics 20 years later, it's a bit different, where like Mike was saying, due to NIL, transfer portal, one and done, etc., it's a lot harder to have sustained success in the college realm. So that's certainly, I would have to imagine that's certainly a factor. If a top level college coach is coming off of 2 straight championships, you say, well, if I'm being offered a NBA job as good as the Lakers, like, is my stock really going to be this high for much longer? So I might as well capitalize on it when I don't know what's going to happen in 5 years time. Right. So interesting point there, I think.
Yeah. Go out on top.
Exactly.
The one point I would like to make before about that is, is that another comparison to that would be Billy Donovan when he did the same thing as Hurley did when he back-to-back national championships, when he was the head coach with the Gators back in those back in the 06-07 seasons, that he did the same thing where he where Donovan did like Hurley, went from college to the pros, which is really another comparison if you think about it, which kind of like in Derby's case, same thing, just a more except you're going to coach it, you're going to be coaching with and helping out with a star player, compared to what Donovan did in his case when he was with the Bulls, because let's face it, he didn't have Michael Jordan on that team and Scottie Pippen than they did back in the day. So those Bulls teams that weren't like that than they were back in the day. So since Donovan's career in the NBA was similar, although Hurley's career in the pros would be similar, but in a different coaching style way. So there's that. And then one other thing I wanted to touch on about this topic is that I mentioned about the Lakers and the excitement of the purple and gold just being by far the best sports franchises, probably for the city of LA combined. Let's just forget about the Angels and Dodgers for a second. And just for a second, because the NFL pretty much has now, as we all know, when they returned to LA with the Rams and Chargers, they played the Super Bowl there just about a few years ago, and nice and shiny, refreshed SoFi Stadium. And now you think about it, LA has really lots to offer for like a sports town perspective from what from what's to do there for all the beaches and the tall palm trees and the surrounding neighborhoods and different suburbs in the massive city that it has to offer. Yeah, I do think the Lakers are a fun team to watch, especially for the city itself, but especially for Dan Hurley. But I don't know that for sure. It's kind of a wait to see moment for me. But if Dan Hurley and LeBron can get along, I don't see why not. But we'll see. I think we'll have to wait until the new season tips off. But excited maybe, but I don't know. I'm just kind of a wait and see hold pattern to see how this all is going to unfold and play out.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense.
All right, so I want to move on to another topic before we talk to NBA Finals. Another one I want to talk to is really to have my eyeball on and really fascinating on your topic here. But this one's for this one is for Blake Weinberger, and I want to get your thoughts on this. That Yeti among the six finalists for the Utah NHL team name. What are your thoughts on that?
You said Yeti made it to the end.
Well, it's one of the top finalists.
Yeah, so
Jackson.
I have the six here if you want to. So the six finalists are for the Utah hockey team is the Blizzard, the Utah Hockey Club, just calling it that, the Mammoth, the Outlaws, the Venom, and then finally, as Jackson mentioned, the Utah Yeti.
So none of the good ones made it, is what you're telling me, Blake. None of the ones
you
that
don't
were
like any of those?
fantastic.
What were the ones that you liked from the previous one?
Well, they were all in reference to one of the large societies out in Utah, so it might not be appropriate for this show. They were all referencing
fair
that show. I will say this: I do love the Yetis. The Yetis are actually the JUCO around North Carolina is cranking up with sports now, and Cleveland County are the Yetis baseball team. So we have the Rhinos in Dallas, and the Cleveland County, they are the Yetis. So I love the Yetis. Mike, I don't know if Mike's aware, but a little baseball name as well in the works. The Gastonia lost their baseball team. They got a new one in there, no name yet. So Jackson and Mike, throw some names out for you guys. What they're going to do is they're going to play in all the different jerseys this year during the baseball season. So you can buy, they have 6 different names this year, and whatever the fans vote for is what their name's going to be. I'll tell you 2 of my favorite. The Gastonia Bologna is one of my favorites. The Gastonia Bologna baseball team, and then the Gastronauts. Not the astronauts, but the Gastonia. So they would be the Gastronauts. So Yeti for the hockey team, and I like the Gastonia Bologna and the Gastronauts. What do y'all think?
Well, at least it's not the Gastro Stones.
And Gastronia is just really as long as we're not going on space or in the universe or just surrounded by like believe in science and all that stuff.
The jerseys are awesome. The jerseys are black with, like you said, space, moons, stars everywhere. I think what do you like? I love the Yetis, Jack. That's going to be a runaway favorite, right? For the hockey team, gotta win.
Yeah, I like the Yetis.
It seems like Yeti is the front runner. I think the Blizzard is not too bad as well. I think something snow related would probably be the leader in the clubhouse. I would say maybe those two, Blizzard and Yeti. I think those two probably make the most sense. Something snow related, given the fact that Utah is known for the skiing and snowboarding scene. So those would get my 2 vote, I think.
I go with the Yeti.
Yeah. I think ultimately I'm Yeti as well. So I think we're all on the Yeti bandwagon, Jack.
I can see them getting called the Utes. They're likely going to get called the Utes as well, right? That's just going to come with the territory. The Utah Utes.
I think that's the Utes right now. That's the University
of Utah, the Utes.
They get called the Utes. Okay.
Yeah, so they probably can double up on that. Yeah.
When is this going to happen? And is this an expansion, or are they getting a team? Is the team transferring locations?
Well, so it's a bit of it's a bit of a weird situation, and we can just mention it briefly and then move on to the Cup final and the NBA finals. But I think the Arizona Coyotes technically folded, and so but technically, or they folded, but technically they're not playing next year, but they haven't been officially
Eliminated.
transitioned. So
Yeah.
it's not like the Arizona Coyotes were not sold to Utah. It's basically they just temporarily shuttered the Coyotes and expanded and brought in a 32nd team for Utah.
Okay.
So it's a bit of a weird sort of dynamic there, but essentially the Coyotes
Yeah.
were axed and they added in a team in Utah. Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna be honest, I've never heard. How long were they around? Because I've never once in my life heard of that team.
Yeah.
Which is an NHL team. That's crazy.
Arizona Coyotes. Yeah.
Hence the reason they disbanded.
Yeah, it was not a shock. I think the Atlanta Thrashers were better supported than the Arizona Coyotes, to be fair. Yeah, they were not a well supported team, it's safe to say. I think they were around since the late 90s, maybe.
Yeah.
And never really had much success.
I'm
Obviously.
just waiting for the spaghetti night at the Yetis.
The
That's
Yeti
good.
spaghetti.
That's good,
Yeah.
Mike. Yeah.
No, I'm excited though. I think it makes sense. I think I think the NHL is expanding into. I think the team in Seattle has been doing well, and I think a team in Utah makes sense just from a cold weather city perspective. And I think the team in Vegas has been obviously a big success as well. So ultimately you got to make some tough decisions. If a team's not doing well, you gotta put the axe down and move on to a new market.
Speaking of the Aces, you guys watching the interesting mascot names? You guys watching the Keeping Up with the College Baseball College World Series? The
I was watching some of it.
Evansville Aces, the 4 seed, made it out of the regional. They'll face the Tennessee Vols in the Super. That's cool.
I was pulling for the Birmingham Southern.
Gosh, jeez, Birmingham Southern. Jeez.
Well, they were the college closed their doors at the end of
Oh, that's
May.
it. Yes.
And they were playing. They were playing for a school that no longer existed. So
where do you put the trophy, Mike, if you bring it back? God.
Yeah.
So
Jack, wanna get to our finals preview now?
All right. So before we do, one last check before we move on to our main topic, which we'll get to in a second. But just to follow up to recap before we get to our actual segment, is that currently what's left in the field for the College World Series is you have UConn taking on Florida State. Nobody even thought UConn was a baseball school until they were this year, which is which nobody even thought was going to happen and predicted, but it did. They will take on a Florida State team. Florida State's going to win that game. And then we got West Virginia taking on North Carolina. I'm not sure. I love Uncle Rob's team, but I hate to say it, but I think the Tar Heels are going to win this one. And then we got Evansville and Tennessee. Yeah. I've got Tennessee to win that one pretty easily. And then Virginia taking on Kansas State. I am taking Virginia to Wahoo Wah in that one. They're going to be beating Kansas State pretty in a pretty decent score, although Kansas State is pretty good, but I think Tennessee holds them off in the end. I think the Cavaliers will win this game. All right. Let's move on and talk about the main topic of our show. And that is tonight's NBA Finals. Game 1. Series tips off tonight in Boston, TD Garden. Fans are going to be excited, pumped up in the excitement right behind me. They're going to be so pumped up for this team and for their fans and for and for the crowd, they're going to be into it. There's going to be so much excitement, and there's going to be lots in store for this one because you got a Kyrie Irving, and this one should be a very exciting one for this season because you got what should be a great series because you got a Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving versus a Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum matchup along with Al Horford. That should be very fascinating to watch series to watch. See how this is going to really play out. Going to really play out. I want to make a prediction here. So it's only game one, but I'm just going to make my prediction for how the series is going to play out. So as I said, I think it's going to be a long series. This game could go either way. I could see each team winning each game of each series anywhere between game 1, 2, and 3 and 4, and we'll see how it plays out between 4 and 5 and 6, depending on how the injuries go and for players and for how the players are feeling 100% if they're ready to go for like later games. If they are not available on their roster and make a team. We'll see how things turn out but again, I don't want to get ahead of myself because it's only game one. So take one game at a time, and we'll see how things go. Whether if a player goes down or game 2 or 3, and next player shows up, it's going to be interesting to see how it still unfolds. So, all right, here's how I think it's going to play out. I think this is going to be a very long series. I could see every single game won by each team. All right, now I think this game is in the series is going to be a very long one. Despite that teams are pretty healthy and they're very good on both sides, although I think Boston has a great defensive end on the court that's where they're great on. Dallas is on the other side, not that great. But I think for me, I have this going to 7 games, and I have Boston winning slightly edge to Boston. I have them winning in 7 games. It'll be a very long series. Both teams playing well, especially when Luka stays hot at the right time with Kyrie Irving, and if they stay healthy and hot, they can be tough to beat too. But I think Boston at the end just has more players, firepower, and more players that they can deal with. They are just more. They got more defenders than the Mavericks do.
Jackson, let me ask you this.
I just think that the Celtics in the end win the series. They will win the championship, and Uncle Steve and Ann will book their train tickets, and they will watch the Celtics celebrate in the championship parade after they winning their and they will surpass the Lakers for the most championships combined in NBA history. And I've said it right here, and I'm going to say it. The Celtics will win in 7 games. Uncle Steve and Aunt Ann are going to take the train down to downtown Boston to watch the Celtics championship parade together with Aunt Ann and the Searles. The Searle family is going to be watching it at the championship parade down in the great downtown Boston. Fans are going to be crazy. They're going to be wild. They're going to be winning the series just in 7 games. That's how I see it playing out. Celtics
Jackson, how many titles?
Win the championship.
How many titles do the
title.
Celtics have, and how many does Dallas has one with Dirk? Is that right?
Yes, Dirk, the great Dirk Nowitzki, the great global German superstar NBA player which by the way, Blake, last won the championship when the Mavericks made their last finals appearance back in 2011 against the Heat.
Okay.
Because I saw the highlights of it, and that too was also a great series.
And that's the only one they have? Just that one?
Yep,
Yeah.
just that one.
Okay.
Celtics and the Lakers have won 17 championships.
Good.
Yeah, I didn't
gracious.
realize they were tied actually. So that
Yeah.
is some extra stakes in the Celtics Lakers rivalry is surpassing your rival there.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree, Jack. It's gonna be, I agree with you. I do think it's gonna be a long series. I think the Celtics pretty much, you know, part of it was a combination of injuries, part of it was they're just clearly the best team, but they pretty much breezed through the Eastern Conference playoffs. You know, I think if it weren't for injuries to, you know, some of the teams, Sixers, Knicks,
Yeah.
Pacers, like maybe some of these series would have lasted a bit longer, but ultimately I think the Celtics, it was the Eastern Conference for them to lose.
How do you think Porzingis is going to do tonight?
Yeah, so that's the big thing is, you know, there's always a long couple extra days between the conference finals and the finals.
He hasn't played since Game 4 against the Heat in the first round.
Yeah, yeah. So it's been about a month for him, which is
Yeah.
pretty crazy. So obviously, you know,
But during that time, of course, the Celtics have only lost 2 games.
yeah, so it's a bit of a rest versus rust dilemma where obviously they'll want him on the court for size and for spacing the floor. So it's just going to be a matter of getting him kind of in the feel of the game and stuff. Like you would imagine coming off of a month away, like he's going to have to kind of get accustomed to the speed, particularly jumping right into the NBA finals is a pretty big leap to make, but they're definitely going to need him if they want to win.
Yeah. Do you think the fans will get to Irving?
Yeah, that's going to be a interesting subplot as well, kind of seeing how
Or is
Kyrie,
Irving matured enough now that he's 32?
it seems like he's definitely mellowed out a lot, but I think the Boston Boo Birds are going to be out, right, Jack? Certainly Kyrie and Luka are going to get lots of Boo Birds from the from the Boston crowd. We know how rowdy they get up there in Beantown.
Oh yeah, those fans up in the Northeast, especially in Boston, yeah, they're into it. They don't want you in our home court.
Get out of here, Kyrie.
You guys should get out of here. We don't want you here. Speaking from Boston accent,
who pocket Harvard Yard is too far.
You think you're better than me?
Yeah, basically from what I hear from those Northeastern fans compared to what people do down the South, especially where Blake is down in the Carolinas, where me and Blake and I, where I am, compared to where it's a different, where it's
dogs and coffee here, Jackson. We got plenty of hot dogs and coffee.
Yeah, where it's really
nowhere to pocket car though.
Yeah. Well, it's where it's not really applied where Uncle Mike is because they don't have no accent where he is. But for us, versus the Southern accent versus the Northeastern accent, well, those Northeastern accents, I say, to me, are more tougher than the Southern accents, especially down in the Carolinas where me and Blake and the Bummers are at. Because up in the Boston Garden, well, those fans just say a bunch of like, they use a bunch of like foul language or stuff we're not allowed to say on Good Guy Sports.
So it's almost like being in Philadelphia, is what you're saying.
Similar vibe, yeah.
Santa Claus gets snowballs thrown at him. Now, Jackson, don't forget, I believe Mike is technically below the Mason-Dixon line, so he is a Southerner. We have all Southerners on the show, I believe.
Yeah.
The two surveyors,
the Mason-Dixon line is the line between Pennsylvania and Maryland.
That's right. Yeah. So he is a Southerner.
So going back to
without the accent.
Going back to the matchups, obviously we know Kyrie and Luka have been on fire this whole postseason. Why they're Western Conference champions.
And they've been great in clutch games.
Yeah.
So if these games go to 5 points or less within 3 or 4 minutes left in the game, those two have been clutch.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's really been the key to success is Dallas staying in the game, Kyrie and Luka dictating the game. And then when it comes to that fourth quarter, I think we mentioned previously on this show that's how they've had success this postseason is, having two closers in Luka and Kyrie kind of dictating the game.
Yeah.
So it's really going to be critical for Boston to find the right defensive matchups for Kyrie and Luka. It's an obvious thing to say. They're the best two players. It's easier said than done slowing down Luka and Kyrie, but if they find the right defensive matchups, that's going to be the series ultimately.
And I think for the Celtics, if Holiday gets a hot hand, that's going to be important.
Yeah, and that's ultimately, I think, Celtics, why people would have them winning this series is that depth, the likes of Drew Holiday, Derek White, versus the Mavericks role players. If you square up Tatum and Brown versus Luka and Kyrie, okay, you might give the edge to Luka and Kyrie just on points and star power, etc. But if you look at the Boston depth, you got Derek White, we've got Drew Holiday, and you've got Porzingis coming back, and a lot of good depth off the bench as well.
Yeah.
So,
well, I think
Dallas
didn't Luka average like 35 points in the Timberwolves series?
Yeah, so that's really going to be the X factor. I mean, it's hard to bet against Luka right now because he certainly got his hand is on fire really in terms of having a hot hand. So it's tough to go against him. I think ultimately it's going to be a team effort from Boston. I think a lot of times people want to dictate this. So this team has the best player. Dallas has. I think most people would agree Dallas has the best player in the series with Luka Doncic right now. So I think that Boston's key to success is not going to be an individual battle. I don't think Tatum is going to outscore Luka and lead his team to a finals victory. I think it's going to be a team effort from Boston that ends up getting them over the line here. So I think to Jackson's point, I've got Boston in 7 as well, actually. So a similar pick to Jackson. And the reason being what I just stated is that I think Luka is the best player in this series. I think he's going to score the most points in this series, but I think Boston has the best team. And so I think if Drew Holiday, Derek White are able to contribute to what Brown and Tatum are doing, throw in Porzingis as well for size and a couple of guys off the bench as well, Horford, etc. I think that's ultimately going to be the key to success for this series. So that's why I have Boston. But like I said, I've got Boston in 7 because I think Luka and Kyrie can't really be slowed down too much, and they're gonna get their points for sure. So,
and for MVPs, who do we like? I know who I like. No surprise, Jason Tatum. Who of course played for Duke under Coach K, which I think is a great player. Which is a great player because he's a great person to hang out with on and off the court, and of his great stories and of his great pieces he has of him, just really inspired and incredible. But and of course played for the legend himself at Coach K at Duke, and that's who I have for my MVP. Who do you guys like? What about you, Blake?
so you picked Tatum for MVP for Finals MVP.
Yep.
I'm gonna zag on you here. I'm gonna pick Jaylen Brown for Finals MVP. The local Marietta, Georgia product.
Ooh! Shout out to Wheeler High School, which of course was our rival to our high school. So
go Wildcats! Yeah, no, I think he's sneakily had the best playoffs of any Celtic. I think obviously he won Eastern Conference Finals MVP. And I think some people were trying to make a deal about like Tatum's jealous of Jaylen Brown. Like, I think that's nonsense. Like, I think they work so well as a tandem. And Jaylen Brown, he got the big contract this offseason. People saying, "Whoa, well, is he really worth that?" Like, we're not too sure, but man, he's had a killer postseason so far. And I think the reason he's going to win Finals MVP is because he's going to play both sides of the ball at expert level. And I don't think he's gonna stop Luka, but I think a lot of the time you're gonna see him squaring up against Luka one-on-one, and I think he's gonna do a pretty good job at slowing him down enough to get his team over the line. So as well as contributing on the offensive side as well, I think Brown's two-way game is going to earn him Finals MVP if Boston gets over the hump. So yeah, I'm going with Brown. Who do you like, Mike, for Finals MVP? If you,
Well,
it depends on who you like in the series, obviously, as well, between Boston and Dallas. So
yeah. So again, I'm a Washington fan, so it's very tough for me to root for a Dallas team.
well, and a Boston team, you kind of rivals with them too.
But
East Coast,
well, they're American League in baseball, so
fair.
I don't, you know.
Good
But
statement.
I'm gonna go counter. I'm gonna go take Dallas in 7,
Okay.
and Luka is going to be the MVP.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a bad pick. That would have been certainly my pick if I didn't take Boston. Yeah.
I'm going to take the exact same as Mike. Took the words out of my mouth. Dallas in Dallas in 6, and Luka's going to take it. I think he wants to.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he wants to take the Joker's notoriety a little bit. So, yeah, Luka.
Yeah, he's coming for the crown of best player in the NBA for
Mhm.
sure. Some might even put him there right now, given the postseason that he's had. So
It just means that our USA Olympic basketball team's got to win the gold.
it's true. Yeah, it's true. I don't know if is Slovenia qualified for the Olympics. I'm not.
I don't know.
I'm not too sure. If they are, then I'm scared of playing Slovenia. That's for sure. Given Luka's postseason run right now. But yeah, I mean, I think the fact that we're all kind of split between a 6 and 7 as well kind of shows how even this series is. And I think ultimately it's going to make for a great series just from
Mhm.
a neutral perspective. None of us here have a rooting interest. So I think as basketball fans, I think I can speak for all of us. We're pretty excited to watch this series from
Yeah.
a lot
Well,
of the star power in it. So
both teams played well in the clutch.
yeah,
And
for sure.
I think there's going to be a lot of clutch games in this series.
Definitely. Yeah, no, I think it seems like a series that's gonna go on to a 6th or 7th game for sure. Yeah.
In a Game 7 series, I think there's going to be at least 5 clutch games.
Yeah, for sure. That crunch time is going to be crucial, isn't it? Yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
For sure. Should
All
we move on
right.
to the other finals matchup, Jack?
Yes. We go from one finals to the other and talk game 1 of the Stanley Cup playoffs between the Edmonton Oilers and Florida Panthers. Now, what's interesting about this one is that the Edmonton Oilers last Stanley Cup Finals appearance was back in 2006 against our Carolina Hurricanes. The Hurricanes actually ended up winning the Stanley Cup that year, and that was the last cup appearance by the Edmonton Oilers. Though only this time they have a Connor McDavid, and on that Oilers team they didn't have a Connor McDavid. So anytime you have like a Connor McDavid kind of 2-star team, then I think you like your chances, because I think Edmonton this for as long of a drought as we had, the first Canadian team to ever reach the final, which is very which people north of the border should really be excited about, which I made the prediction, and
It's been a
last
couple
time,
years, right?
long
I think a couple teams
long
have made it to the
suffering years that they had up there, up
yeah.
for those people north of the border. But
A couple teams have made it since then, but I think no one's actually won it since like the 90s, right? From Canada. So yeah,
I
it's
think
been
if not, then I'm gonna guess 1963. The last
no. I think Canadian team has won it since then. I think um it was I know a couple teams have been in the finals in recent history. But like the actual champion from Canada, it's been, I think, at least since the 90s, I want to say. I think we discussed that last time as well, where I'm just looking at the list right now. I believe it was Edmonton in 1990, I think, is the last champion, if you can believe it or not. So I know a couple teams have made it, like Montreal and Vancouver have made it to the finals in recent history. But yeah, it's been a while since Canadian team has lifted the cup.
Yeah,
So
I looked it up and you were right. 1993, the Montreal Canadiens,
or 90,
Canadiens
yeah, 93 with
defeated
Montreal, yeah.
defeated the Los Angeles Kings in the 93 Cup final of the year I was born. So there was
It's been a
that.
while.
So I was a baby the last time a
It's been
Canadian team won the Cup final.
been 30
Maybe
years.
who knows? Maybe it can all happen this year. You never know. But you got to get past a really good talented Florida Panther team first.
Yeah, I mean, listen, this Florida team is really strong. We've been saying it all postseason that you know, they've looked like the best team in the East for a while now. So I'm not surprised they've made it this far. You know, Matthew Tkachuk has had a killer postseason, similar to last season as well. Don't want to forget they're defending Eastern Conference champions as well. So making it to back-to-back Cup finals is certainly nothing to sniff at. You know, the Tampa did that. They won 2 straight and then ended up losing for the quest for a three-peat. But I mean, even making it to back-to-back Cup finals is super impressive given the depth that's in the NHL at this current state. So yeah, Florida's a really strong team, but at the same time, Edmonton's got some really good star power as well, with in the form of Connor McDavid. You know, he's been really strong this postseason, and you know, people have been wondering when he's going to kind of kick on and lead this Edmonton team to a Cup final, and this is a year that he's taken a huge leap. So I think Florida's is gonna meet their match here. I think this is the one team I think Florida is gonna struggle to kind of steamroll. I think the Eastern Conference, you know, our Hurricanes and the Rangers were strong teams, but ultimately Florida was the class of the East. So like I said, not surprised to see them in the Cup final. But Edmonton's got a really strong offense, and so Florida's going to have to really buckle down and grind it out. I think we're in for a long series here as well, Jack.
I agree, Blake. And if you think about it, and if they lose to the second consecutive year in a row and without a cup title for that franchise, obviously you think about the teams that have one of the greatest players to ever play the game who made the cup final but never won a title. I think of players like of course, one of our guys I follow a lot and watch a series on is PK Subban, who obviously, as you know, Blake, played for the Predators when they went to the Cup final during the time at Vanderbilt. They ended up losing that series in 6 games to the Penguins that year, and then you think of if you think of the list of teams that never won the Stanley Cup final, I think of like Vancouver. Obviously, I'm not thinking of anybody else, but Arizona maybe. Seattle's won a cup, but not as a current team called the Kraken. But they won the cup during the days without the invention of helmets, where you would just play in the ring without that gear that was not around for back then, and then but other than that, I'm not sure if oh yeah, and Buffalo also one of those teams mentioning that have not won it, given the fact that yeah, them and the Bills, oh And if you're a fan of, and you just got to think, if you're a fan of that team, if you're a Panthers fan, you just got to think, you don't want to think about this in all North American sports, that you don't want to like rewrite history of being the team to lose the championship final for the second year in a row after making the final, being like the Buffalo Bills in football. Oh, I don't know. That's just you just got to get sting, and just just a tough loss, and now you're just so devastated and can't get over yourself. If you're
Yeah,
a
it'll be a tough
team,
one. Yeah,
yeah.
for sure. Mike, what do you what do you
Well,
make of the series?
The Panthers are a very good forechecking team, and I think that's going to do them well with the Oilers' offense.
Yeah,
And they certainly had the maturity and an excellent goalkeep. But
yeah. Bobrovsky's been solid this postseason, hasn't he?
yeah, and I think the Panthers are probably the certainly the odds-on favorite with people, other NHL coaches and such. At least from an article I was reading today.
Yeah,
Mike, are
no,
you
I think
saying that Florida is the new Canada? With
Well,
the Tampa Rays being the dominant hockey team, now they got the Florida Panthers. Is Florida the new Ontario?
no. Given all that, my gut is always wrong, but I'm going with the Oilers in 7.
I think I think Canada's hungry. I mean, how Canada can't allow one state in the United States to win more in Stanley Cups than their entire country. I think a lot of pride's on the line. I think this is going to be a little bit. This is going to turn into a little bit USA versus Canada situation here a little bit. Just wait and watch. I think there's going to be a lot of pride on the line here. Even though Florida has 6 to 8 Canadians on their team, so they might have the Canadian secrets in the back pocket too.
yeah, certainly a large Canadian
I feel like we're already talking about the Olympics here or something. Now that we're like less than a few months away away. Now that I think Mary Ellen is really going to the actual games in Paris, that should be that just sounds like I'm getting more excitement in the air for the Olympics, for the game. That's just something that I feel like we all should be all should feel like we should be discussing right about now.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna pick similar to Mike. My head's telling me to pick Florida, but for some reason I just want to go with offense over defense, and I just think McDavid is gonna have a Cup Finals MVP type run here, and I think he's gonna lead Edmonton to a Game 7 victory down there in Fort Lauderdale. So I'm picking the Oilers. I think it's time we break the duck off of the Canadian team's backs and bring the cup back to the old Maple. So I'm picking the Oilers in 7 as well.
Well, I'm taking the Oilers in 6.
Okay.
I think Connor McDavid
Take
will
care
win
of
his
take care of it at home. Yeah,
will win
I
his
like it.
first Cup title, enjoying the great Wayne Gretzky,
The great one.
Alex Ovechkin, and Sidney Crosby, among a few names to name other. He's going to be on that list. Going to it is going to is going to be among those few names to get captured on the cup, and he's going to be on there, and he will do it by winning in 6 games.
Fair
Yeah,
enough.
it's about time that the Lord Stanley's Cup goes back to a Commonwealth country.
Seems about right. Blake, who do you like in this series?
Yeah, I'm going to Edmonton. I saw a meme recently where it was like all the other Canadian teams fans were kind of agreeing that they're now for the Stanley Cup purposes, they're all now behind Edmonton. So I think you literally have an entire country in Canada rooting for one team. I don't know if the entire U.S. is rooting for Florida, but you got the entire Canada, it seems like, getting behind Edmonton. I think they're going to be loud in the stadium, and that helps. So I think Florida, the sun's coming out. They might not even sell the stadium out. They might be on the beach in Daytona, riding motorcycles and tanning. So yeah, I don't even know where Edmonton is, but I think they win it. I think it's in the edge of Ontario.
Yeah.
Yeah, and interesting stat as well is it's the furthest distance between two teams ever in Stanley Cup final history.
Oh, that's cool.
If you want
But
to,
same time zone, right?
no. Edmonton's on the western part of Canada. Yeah.
Oh, it's the Vancouver
So
area.
if you want to drive
Yeah.
from Miami to Edmonton, it would take you, I think, 45 hours, I want to say.
Wow.
It's a jaunt for sure, which I'm sure that's probably the travel for the series is going to be quite intense. So maybe factor that into your predictions as well.
I hope there's at least one player or coach that's afraid of planes and has to make that drive. That would just be wild.
Not the series
Who
for
was-
that. Yeah.
You guys would know, and Mike would probably know, who was the announcer? It wasn't Ditka that wouldn't take planes. Who was the
No, it
famous
was
announcer?
John Madden.
John Madden. Yeah.
John
okay, I thought there
Madden.
was
John
Madden
Madden.
bus. Yes.
Yeah,
He drove his RV, or had somebody drive his
Wow.
RV for him. Yeah, he would
Wow.
park it on the side of the RFK when we used back in the day when I went to the Redskins games.
Hey, and when I went to the baseball games at RFK, same. I've been in that stadium plenty of times. Yeah.
Yeah.
I gave
So-
Connie Gwynn Jr. the business so bad he didn't even start the next day. I felt a little bad,
Well,
Apparently, you don't like being told you'll never be as great as your dad. Apparently, that's a little rough for the
that's
the
a little
heckling.
harsh. Yeah,
That's a little harsh. Yeah, too much.
Yeah. Speaking of baseball and traveling, this weekend is the London series between the Phillies and the Mets.
Where are you
playing
going?
in?
Wait,
No, London Metro. This is a Metro stop, right? Is that what it is?
No, they're playing in London.
Oh,
in
really?
the UK.
wait.
Saturday and Sunday.
They have
Wait,
baseball fields there?
Jackson's
They're
confused.
playing on a cricket field.
wait a second. Wait a second.
Jack,
Are
they're
you-
playing on a cricket field.
Did you wait? Are you going? And did you even pay for those tickets? Like, if so, then how did you make it happen?
Oh, I'm
I
not
got
going.
questions.
I'm not going to London. I'm just saying the Phillies and the Mets are going to London to
Well,
play.
we thought for a second you were even going and buying yourself a plane
No.
ticket to get yourselves over to.
I would not go to anywhere to see the Phillies
Or the Mets.
or the Mets.
Well, we thought we were going to buy you a plane ticket to catch a trip to catch a game overseas over to Great Britain, British accents to see a baseball game. I
Lots of
thought at
accents on
first.
the show today.
Yeah, no, they've I think they had a Yankees Red Sox game there a couple
Yeah,
years
they
ago.
did.
They're bringing the MLB
Yeah.
over to Europe, so fair enough.
So Chase Utley and Daniel Murphy are going to do an exhibition home run derby style
No
event
way.
on tomorrow night.
That's cool.
Chase Utley actually lives in London.
Oh, wow.
He's
What?
moved there like 2 years ago.
Huh.
They're playing in the London Stadium. This is
Yeah.
this looks like, is this a soccer stadium or built for
Yeah, it
soccer?
must be. I think it's-
Wembley. They're playing in Wembley.
Oh, that's Wembley.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, and that's the home of what soccer team, Blake? Man U?
Let me
Well,
Yeah,
all
let
I know
me-
is this: they just had the USA Champions Cup there, which was won by
Ah.
Real Madrid over Barkman, by the way. So
Well, so they're playing in London Stadium, which is actually not the main Wembley.
Okay.
It's a stadium that was built for the Olympics in 2012,
Oh.
and then it was taken over by West Ham after that.
Yeah,
the
West Ham. I just looked
London
it up.
club,
You're right.
Yeah.
All right.
So not a little bit smaller than Wembley, which is what they had the Champions League final on this previous
Wow.
Saturday. But yeah, so I guess
I mean-
they built that stadium kind of for Olympics, and then post Olympics having events, and then West Ham took it over eventually.
How are they going to fit it? It's going to be interesting to see how they fit a baseball stadium with the edges. If you look at it, the edges of the roof come down. It's like a little bowl. And so I wonder if any of that's going to be in play for this home run. That's going to be, love watching stuff when they retrofit these stadiums to
Yeah,
fit.
no, I agree. I think they should do. I'm always game for like experimenting, particularly with baseball. There's so many games anyway when they experiment with different locations, or they do the like the old historic game in the cornfield. The what's the movie?
Field of
Yes.
Dreams.
Field of Dreams game. Yeah, yeah. So stuff like that, and bring it to new cities or whatever. I'm always in favor of that. I mean, why not experiment, right?
Yeah.
Here's a picture. If you hit a if foul balls are going to be way more in territory possible to get an out. If you foul tip a ball towards the dugout, you got it looks like about 80 feet of grass to run on to go catch the foul ball. Where the dugout it would have been probably 20 in a normal stadium. So I love it. It just changes the game a little bit. It looks like they got corners in the outfield. It's not circular. This will be great.
Yeah, I'm sure for the British population, it's just a fun summertime novelty activity when the Major League Baseball is in town. So yeah, I don't know, I think it should be a fun event. All right, Jack, you want to get us
Yeah,
wrapped up here?
yeah. So about that, yeah, I just think really with what baseball was doing with the Field of Dreams, now they're adding now they just now I said before just added another tournament at Legion's Field out in Birmingham. That should be a fun one to watch for all of us baseball fans. And then yeah, the London series, and then among many other for any baseball fans that have to offer, there's really something to be excited about for what um for what Major League Baseball has to offer. And I think they're doing just that. And I think that we're pretty much going from the World Baseball Classic to the London series. And obviously with the obviously we know that they just had the Seoul and series in in Japan earlier this past year. So baseball is very global, and I think they're just doing and I think that Major League Baseball has always find new ways to try new things, whether around the world or some neutral site game or for how global a brand it's become. I baseball offers all of that. So I think Major League Baseball is heading in the right direction with the star players internationally and for how global the game has become as well individually as a sport from how far it has got us there.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And one last thing I'd like to add before we wrap up is one player I forgot to one of the players I forgot to mention who also could join the list with Carmen David is the great Mark Messier, who won in '94 with the Rangers. And then Patrick Barugarin with the Bruins, and then of course and then of course Patrick Kane and Daryl Keefe with the Blackhawks. I could really name every single player who's won the cup. So at least Connor David can possibly, who knows, can be joined that list of the name that to be captured on the cup. It'll be really cool, but got to get past the series first, like I said. But if he did it and accomplished it, that would be awesome.
Absolutely. Should be a fun series.
Stay tuned Saturday night.
We will
Should be a good one. Should be a good one. All right, Jack, want to get us wrapped up here?
Yep. Always great having you guys on the show today here on Good Guys Sports. We will talk to you next Thursday. Uncle Mike, sorry I couldn't I'm sorry I couldn't be with you this person to join you for the Braves Nationals game. It will be a special treat, but our plans have changed with my dad recovering from COVID and getting sick. But at least if things do work out and have us go to another game and hook us up, let us know. But but let us know. but anyway, great talking to you guys on Good Guys Sports. We'll talk to you next week. Everybody have a great show and night and great weekend, and we will talk to you guys soon. Have a great day, everybody.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Jack.
everyone.
Thank you.
Have a good weekend.
Have a good one.
See you guys.
Bye.